Now, you've all learned in school about him. Now, we'll start with you, James, in this question. Have you ever done any additional research on your own, or have you looked up any of the quotations or any of his comments or any of his teachings through the years since you were a senior in high school?
Well, I did a research a couple of years ago. When I found out he was a preacher, I didn't know he was a preacher until a couple of years ago. And like, that just made me want to grow the church and be somewhat like him. And I didn't really find anything about him, but I know that he had a NAACP award, but I didn't find any like research about that, what it was for.
Now, Sierra, in your opening comments, you actually quoted Dr. Martin Luther King towards the end. Or you didn't quote him, but maybe you paraphrased something that he said. So have you ever done any research on Dr. Martin Luther King for any schools or anything?
I actually have. I felt as though the public school system didn't really emphasize on what he's done, so I took it upon myself to research him on my own to find out what he's done and why exactly he did do it.
What did you find out?
I found out that he basically did it for not only himself, but for his children. He wanted his children to live a better life that he did, as well as the people to come, as you and me and the generations to come. He wanted us to have a better future and not a future that's based on color.
Sarah, switching up a little bit, if Dr. King was alive today, is there anything that you can see him trying to change?
I would say he would try to change the way teenagers live right now. Like the music we listen to, the way we dress, how we talk to our parents. Because nowadays, there's a lot of disrespecting going on, even in schools with their teachers. And the music does not encourage kids. Like, it usually degrades, others or teenage or girls. So I think he would probably have, more. He would probably contribute more for them to expose them to good education and more of something that inspired them to become a good person.
I don't think he'd go for these guys with their pants down to their butt, right?
No,
and I don't think he'd go for that at all, right?
No.
I don't get that, but that's, What do you think he'd work on, James?
I think he'd work on the homeless rate. I think he'd try to like cut down on people being homeless and staying in the streets at night. I think he'd try to open some programs or some shelters so they could be safe and not have to worry about being cold at night.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, what do you think he'd work on?
I think he would work on unemployment because the unemployment rates are so high, and I think we honestly take it for granted that he paved the way for us to have better jobs as an African American race, and there are so many Africans that are unemployed at this moment, and I think that he would be displeased with that.
Do you think that's one of the reasons you're going into the Army, is because of the job opportunities are not there, so you figured the Army's going to give you an opportunity? Has that played into your thought process?
It has, but my decision to go to the Army was more of a past, something I always wanted to do. And I think if I do go to the Army, there are more job opportunities open to me because I will have that military experience.
And Sarah, one of the things that Dr. King strongly believed in was nonviolence, and that effort really made a difference in society. And I'm just curious to know, coming from another country, clearly the violence level where you came from might have been higher at some points, right? Because they went through a civil war years ago in Ghana. So what do you think of the nonviolence, and how do you think that makes a difference in today's society?
I think there's more violence today than there is back then, because today we fight more with each other than against maybe something we believe in or anything like that. So I'm thinking today there's too much violence with the teenagers more. Even with mothers today, sometimes they don't set a good example. That's how maybe their kids come up fighting in school, fighting with teachers, not paying attention.
And James, you and your friends, you think you take Dr. Martin Luther King for granted? Do you think the freedoms he fought for, you kind of forget about him now, or you still say, hey?
Well, some of my friends do, and some of them don't. But I know that I'm kind of in the middle, but I think I should because what he fought for was for me to go to school and to get education and to be a good person, not to be someone who just fights all the time and just argue about everything. So I think what he did, I should take for granted and just live off of that.
And Sierra, what do you think? You and your friends take the issues that Martin Luther King. What do you think as young people? Because oftentimes we get to the events on Martin Luther King Day, and a lot of young people don't come. So it's a day off from school. I understand that. So nobody wants to spend it in church. But what do you think of the commitment Martin Luther King made, and what young people think of it today?
I think honestly we do take it for granted, because at one point back in his time there were not as many opportunities. For example, we have recreational centers such as the movies that we can go to, and we take that for granted, because every time I go to the movie theaters, there's cops surrounding it because either a fight breaks out or there's an argument happening. And I feel as though if we were back in his time, we would want something like that to enjoy. But nowadays, all we do is take it for granted.
Sarah, Dr. King's principle of overcoming your enemies with love, is it a common practice among today's youth? Based on what you just said before, I'm not so sure.
No, I don't think, I don't know, because today we don't really solve our problems with love, definitely not, especially among the teens. When we're mad, we have a quick reaction to either fight or argue. So in school, like when people fight, they fight about shoes, things that are not even necessary, instead of just talking it out, finding what they have in common and just talking it out. So not today.
They fight about shoes.
Yeah, shoes.
Dresses, or
yes.
Not dresses, but clothes you may be wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Jackets.
Like
James?
if you step on somebody's shoe, they get mad. Unnecessary stuff.
They really do.
Yeah.
Fight about somebody's girlfriend or boyfriend
Yes.
All the time.
all the time.
Or you have something they have, or you have something they want, they try to beat you up and take it. It's ridiculous.
Now, do you think Dr. Martin Luther King would have encouraged that attitude about fighting for a girlfriend or a boyfriend? I mean, or your shoes?
Absolutely
No,
not.
I don't think so, because that's not important. What's important is education, and you keep moving forward, encouraging others, being friends.
You three seem to get it together. I mean, do you try to influence other people with this thought process, or you just kind of say, hey, I can't do it? What do you?
I try to influence my friends to doing the right thing, because I think it's the right way to go. If you're out there just following people, that's not going to take you anywhere. You're just going to end up nowhere in life. So I would tell you, you rather want to be here or you want to be there, for whatever you want to choose. So I try to encourage my friends to do the right thing.
James?
I just try to show people the right way. Like, if you want to be something in your life, you have to do the right thing. So I just try to tell them, like, just do what you got to do. So you just get out of here and make a good living for yourself.
Well, we're going to wrap up the first half, but before we do, James, I want to ask you, where do you see yourself in 10 years after you get out of college? What do you see yourself doing?
I see myself being a music teacher in Elizabeth Public Schools, so I plan on coming back, giving back to the community.
Good for you. Sarah, where do you see you in 10 years after graduating in college?
I want to open my own dentist shop, practice a little dentistry and help kids with cleft. There's a disorder called cleft lip. So we're going to the deeper study of dentistry to do surgery and help around the world.
Very good. Where do you see yourself?
I will still be serving the country.
Well, on that note, I want to thank the three of you for taking the time out of your schedule to come over here after school to tape this show. And I do really appreciate it. So thank you very much. And I thank you for sharing your insights on what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. meant to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For Sierra, for Sarah, and James, I'm Chris Bolwage. Please stay with us. After these messages, we'll talk with two more young people on what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. means to them.